Salutations, viewers. Welcome to BookExpo America 2015. I am Charles from Full Coverage Writers, coming to you today with yet another author, commonly known as A-Rod. But we thought we'd come to you today to talk a bit about your two books that are recently coming out, or have come out. Just what do you have for us today?
Well, we launched the first book through Waldorf Publishing, What Did Jesus Drive?, which is kind of the exploits of my career in the public relations business and trying to navigate companies through crisis. With the bottom line, tell the truth all the time.
How many people take that advice?
Unfortunately, fewer and fewer every day, and they pay the price. It amazes me how many large corporations that are on the top of their game are not ready for a crisis. And from BP to Toyota,
Yep.
General Motors, and I've counseled General Motors in the past. I was head of PR for Chrysler, and before that Ford during the biggest crisis in the history of the auto industry, the Ford Firestone tire crisis.
That did not go over very well.
No, but I got to tell you, it's actually the spine of my first book. And even though I got fired along with the CEO,
Oh, wow.
Ford did everything right every step of the way in taking care of their customers.
It was Firestone that,
It was Firestone, a very, very bad acting company.
yeah.
Partially bad actors, partially just scared and didn't know what to do and stuck their head in the sand and hoped it would go away.
It didn't.
No, the old line today in business, hope is not a strategy. And they flubbed it, but you see companies today that are flubbing it each and every day. You see government agencies that are flubbing it, the IRS.
A little too often.
You're seeing universities that are flubbing it. The University of North Carolina, one of the greatest universities, with their scandal about their student athletes. So it's, people ask me, because of the title of the book, What Did Jesus Drive? They ask, what did Jesus drive? I go, well, he drove the truth. And we're having a harder and harder time this day just remembering that. If you tell the truth, we live in a very forgiving society. If you screw up and say you're sorry, we'll forgive you. You cover it up,
We're going to have issues.
we're going to get you.
Transparency is becoming more of a factor, it seems, but people don't want it to be.
Well, it's those that claim to be so transparent usually are the least transparent.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And my books are very politically oriented. My new book, Jimmy Hoffa Called My Mom a Bitch, is all about my politics blog on the Detroit News, and I'm a proud conservative Republican. However, one of the biggest chapters in the book is called Stupid Republicans. But the fact is, we aren't transparent, and being a PR guy most of my life, I hate when somebody calls me a spin doctor. Because if you call me a spin doctor, that means you're expecting me to lie for you, and I won't do that. It's a term that really came out during the Clinton administration, and they were spinning all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And spinning gets you in trouble. And so I'm hoping. I've gotten great reviews on the first book, which came out last November, but goes in hardcover now this summer. And I do have a tendency to have wacky titles for my book. But the next one that comes out in November, Jimmy Hoffa Called My Mom a Bitch, I'm very excited about that for one reason, and that's because my daughter, who's 23, said, I love this book.
That's a good endorsement.
She's my harshest critic, and so I'm excited about it.
What was the process like putting your two books together?
Well, as you and I discussed before we got on camera, the first book was hideously painful. I thank my wife for supporting me. I thank my dog for being with me sometimes at 2 o'clock in the morning because I got in a groove. I'm ADHD, and so it's really hard to write a book when you're ADHD. But I got into it, and I wrote it in about 3 weeks.
Not bad.
But it took me but it took me 6 months to research it, to make sure I had every date and every quote exactly right, because I knew somebody would attack me.
If it's fact-based, someone will check. And if something's even the slightest bit questionable, they will call you.
Yes, and then you've blown it.
Yeah.
It was so funny. Barbara Terry, my publisher with Waldorf, before we even went to print, said, "I hope you get sued." And I said, "What?" She goes, "You realize the publicity we'll get if you get sued?" And no, we didn't get sued by anyone because it's fact-based. And while I'm not kind to some people in the book who don't deserve to be kind to, I'm very complimentary of people that deserve to be complimented, like Ford Motor Company that did the right thing for their customers in the biggest crisis in automotive history.
Yeah, you were truthful.
I was brutally truthful, and sometimes brutally language-wise, let's say.
Okay.
But I told it like it went, and I wanted to make sure I did that. My mom's not really happy with the book, but
Because of the content or the language?
the language. But
That's mothers.
I got a reference, a voice from Bill Velasic, who's with the New York Times in Detroit, former Detroit News. He's written 2 great books. And Bill and I are very good friends. He goes, "You got to be all in on this book.
Yep.
You can't sugarcoat it. You can't play favorites." So this book is all in. One of the reviews on Amazon says this has more profanity than a Quentin Tarantino movie. And I say, okay. But the reviews that I liked the most that were in the media or on Amazon were, "This is a completely non-PC book." And I said, good.
We need some of those out there.
And that's what I'm about. I'm very non-PC. I'm a little bit salty, but I tell it like it is. It made me what I was in the auto industry, and I'm proud of it. And I'm proud of my wife. I'm proud of my kids, and I'm very proud of that first book. This next book is a compilation of my politics blog on the Detroit News. It doesn't have the salty language because it had to be in the newspaper.
Yeah.
But as I said, my daughter gave me an endorsement that I just said, I'm on to something here.
That's good. And what inspired you to put all of this into book form and share with others?
Well, the name of the book the new one is Jimmy Hoffa Called My Mom a Bitch. And there's a reason to the title. On September 5th, 2011, in Detroit, Michigan, on Labor Day, they were having their usual union rally, heavily unionized state. And on the stage was Jimmy Hoffa Jr., James P. Hoffa, the head of the Teamsters. And along with him was President Obama. And President Obama, 9 months earlier in Tucson, Arizona, gave what I describe in the book as his greatest speech. And it was at a memorial for the people that were shot in Tucson. That guy shot Gabby Gifford. And she survived, but he really gave a great speech. And I'm really pretty tough on President Obama in the book, but I gave him a little bit of kudos here. So and in that speech, he said we need a new era of civility in politics. Good for you. Good for you. Well, fast forward 8 months later in Detroit, Jimmy Hoffa is getting ready to introduce the President of the United States, and he starts talking about the Republicans and the GOP and the Tea Party, and he says, we got to take these sons of bitches out. How's that for civility? And so my next day in the Detroit News, I wrote my column that, wait a minute, he's talking about taking out who? He's talking about taking out people like me, so I'm an SOB, therefore, he just called my mama you-know-what. And I wrote a column, and Henry Payne, my editor, who actually drew the cover of the new book, he's an editorial cartoonist, when he got it over email, he got my column, he goes, when you put your book together, your columns, this has got to be the title, because this is just too rich. And I think I got more comments on that column than any of the 300 or 400 that I wrote.
That's awesome.
So I actually started writing it in late March, and like a complete idiot, I didn't back it up at all. The first book I backed up every
I don't like where this is going.
30 seconds. I didn't back it up. I was going to see my mom in Iowa for her 90th birthday. I was in the Atlanta airport. I was sitting at the gate. I went just to check on the flight. I came back, and my laptop was stolen.
Ooh.
And it was all on there. And I was 95% of the way done.
Oh, no.
I almost cried. But because they were past columns, I had put about 90 hours of work into reformulated and so forth.
Yeah.
I actually got a chance to make the book a heck of a lot better.
A blessing in disguise, almost.
That's what my wife and my daughter said. Dad, this is for a reason. The book's going to be better now. And it is. It was actually much more concise. And I got to take out some columns that weren't really that good.
Or just didn't quite fit in, maybe.
No. And so I was trying to force fit some in.
It doesn't always work.
No, there's 14 chapters. It's all, the subtitle is Profiles in Stupidity. And the first chapter, I think, is Stupid Perverts. And then there's Stupid Democrats, Stupid Republicans, which is a large chapter, even though I'm a Republican. Stupid White House, which is all the presidents, men and women. Stupid Atheists, Stupid Christians, Stupid Policies, Stupid Sports Figures. And I actually enjoyed rereading this as we're in the editing phase. And it's kind of funny that stuff I wrote 10 years ago sounds like I wrote it yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Times have not changed that much.
I really want to read this now.
Well, you're going to get a free copy.
Yay!
And I'm going to sign it, making it completely useless. No, I'm excited because the first book, What Did Jesus Drive, started off as a soft cover, unknown except in the auto industry. And Barbara called me 5-6 months ago and said, we're going to hardcover on your book. I go, wow, that's
awesome.
That's rare. She goes, it deserves it. So that comes out July 1 or something like that. And the new book, Jimmy Hoffa Called My Mom a Bitch, is starting as a hardcover.
Very nice.
I feel very excited about that. So,
well, congratulations on that.
It's fun, and I've got 3 more books that I'm working on right now. So
very cool.
It's once you get into it, once you get past that first one, they say your first million's the hardest to make.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I've made like $1 on my book so far, but
it's a start.
First book is the hardest one, and I've talked to every writer that even some famous ones that I've talked to. I go, how hard was that first book to write? They go, oh God, it's excruciating. But if you stick to it and you surround yourself with good people, that's the key.
Yep.
Good people that will tell you the truth. They will tell you, this sucks, or this is great. And you have to have advisors, just like, it's like in any business. You'd have advisors to tell you when you're not thinking properly. So, it's fun. And it's cool to be here in New York. This is obviously the first time I've ever been to the BEA. And my goodness, there's a lot of books out there.
It's an experience.
Yeah, it really is. And I've enjoyed every part of it except the heat.
Yeah, there is that, unfortunately.
Yeah, but
and for our viewers and listeners out there, where can they find your books once they're out and available?
You can go to Waldorf Publishing online, Waldorf, Waldorf. It's named after the founder Barbara Terry's dog, Wally. Or, of course, you can go on Amazon.
Yep.
And I encourage people to go on Amazon to see the reviews. The reviews have been phenomenal. I think I'm at 4.3 or 4.4 out of 5.
Very nice.
And there's about like 100 reviews. It's funny, there's a few really negative ones, and they all have nobody's name on them, fake names. So I think it's some of the people that I trash in the book that had their PR people go on, don't say what your real name is, and trash the book. But the reviews have been phenomenal. My friends have come out of the woodwork to support it, and that inspired me to do the second book.
Fantastic.
And so as I said, I've got 2 more books I just started on. One with the former chairman of American Motors, and one with a guy I met on a plane coming back from Arizona. World War II and Korean War veteran.
Oh, wow.
We sat and talked for 3 hours, and I said, that's the most incredible story I've ever heard. He goes, well, my son's been interviewing me for my son-in-law for the last 3 years on videotape. I go, I'd like to write a book about you. And he goes, so I was speaking with his son-in-law last week, and so I'm going to actually fly down to Florida in a couple of weeks and spend a week with him.
That's awesome.
And just drain his brain.
Yep.
And so that's about a year away from getting both of those books done.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely be keeping an eye out for
I
them.
appreciate you giving me any interest.
Well, thank you again for giving us your time and for talking to us. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. And you get 2 free books.
Yay!
Keeping the money machine going.
Thank you again.
Thank you.